When you think of Hanley Ramirez, you may think of terrible defense, lackluster effort, or a horrendous drug kingpin accusation that thankfully wasn't true. But in the prime years of his career, he was one of the best hitters in the MLB. So let's talk about it. Born in the Dominican Republic, Hanley Ramirez grew up an avid baseball fan, and by the time he was 16, he was already signed to the Boston Red Sox. He remained in the minors for about 5 years, and then finally had an appearance in 2005 with the Boston Red Sox, only appearing in 2 at-bats and striking out both times. Prior to 2006, Hanley was a key piece in a blockbuster trade with the Marlins that saw Anibal Sanchez, Jesus Delgado, and Harvey Garcia head to Florida in exchange for Josh Beckett, Mike Lowell, and Guillermo Mota. With a real opportunity to shine on a rebuilding team, Ramirez earned the starting shortstop position in spring training and put together a fantastic rookie year. He led all MLB rookies with 185 hits, 119 runs, 11 triples, and 51 stolen bases. He also had 46 doubles, which is an all-time NL record for a shortstop aged 22 or younger, and was the first rookie to post at least 110 runs and 50 stolen bases, becoming just the 5th big league player ever since 1900 to hit at least 45 doubles and steal at least 50 bases, joining the likes of Tris Speaker, Ty Cobb, Craig Biggio, and Lou Brock. The cherry on top was winning the National League Rookie of the Year award. In 2007, his second year in the league, Ramirez continued to prove he was a young star. By the All-Star break, he was hitting .331 with 14 home runs, 35 RBIs, and 27 steals, but narrowly missed out on the All-Star game to the likes of Jose Reyes and J.J. Hardy. A snub in the All-Star game certainly didn't stop his production for the rest of the season. He finished with a .332 average, good for 5th in the league, 29 homers, 81 RBIs, a .562 slugging percentage, 125 runs scored, which was 2nd in the league, 2nd in hits with 212, 48 doubles, which was 3rd, 51 stolen bases, which was 3rd, a 145 OPS plus, and 10th overall in National League MVP voting. It was a nearly perfect sophomore campaign, but the one thing that plagued him in this season and throughout his entire career was errors, and in 2007, he was first among all shortstops with 24. But his hitting was so dominant that it was enough to overcome his bad fielding, and in 2008, he was now the face of the franchise, with Miguel Cabrera and Dontrelle Willis being shipped off to Detroit. He managed to make his first All-Star game, was the NL Player of the Month in June, and even signed a 6-year, $70 million contract extension, which was by far the richest contract in Marlins history at the time. In his age 24 season, Ramirez put together a .301 average, 33 homers, 67 RBIs, an All-Star game, a Silver Slugger, 11th in MVP voting, a 6.7 WAR according to Baseball Reference, which was good for 10th in the league, 177 hits, which was also 10th, 35 stolen bases, and 143 OPS plus, which was good for 5th in the league. He also led the league in runs scored with 125. The one downside again was errors, as he led shortstops for the 2nd year in a row with 22. But hey, it was 2 less than the year before. Entering 2009, Ramirez was established as one of the best hitters in baseball and even got the opportunity to play for the Dominican Republic in the 2009 World Baseball Classic. That season, he put together probably the greatest year of his career. He hit .342 with 24 home runs, 106 RBIs, which was 6th in the National League, 148 OPS plus, which was the highest of his career. He won the NL batting title, had a 7.4 Baseball Reference WAR, which was 4th in the National League, had a 954 OPS, which was 6th, 101 runs scored, 197 hits, 42 doubles, 27 stolen bases, and even improved his fielding percentage to .983, which was 4th among all shortstops. He made the All-Star game, started once again for the 2nd year in a row, was a Silver Slugger for the 2nd year in a row, and finished 2nd in MVP voting behind the legendary Albert Pujols. Hanley nearly led Florida to an improbable playoff appearance as the team won 87 games, but just missed out in the wild card berth. Overall, though, things were really looking up for Florida as they had an established superstar and a decent young core. Heading into 2010, I wouldn't say expectations were high for the team, maybe for Hanley, but there was definitely eyes on the Marlins, with the likes of Josh Johnson, Dan Uggla, and Hanley Ramirez leading the way. Hanley managed to make the All-Star game for the third year in a row, but his numbers dipped a bit from the year prior, due in large part to some lingering elbow issues. He finished with a .300 average, 21 homers, 76 RBIs, 28 doubles, 163 hits, 126 OPS plus, and 32 stolen bases in 142 games. The team regressed as well, winning 7 fewer games than the year prior, and some questions were starting to arise as to whether Hanley could lead the team to the playoffs or not. Ramirez got off to an extremely slow start in 2011. On June 20th of that season, he was hitting just .200 with only 4 home runs and 17 RBIs. On August 2nd, Hanley injured his shoulder attempting to make a diving catch against the New York Mets, and his season was over. The Marlins were 55-55 at the time of his injury, but ended the season on a 17-35 clip for a record of 72-90. Hanley played in only 92 games, accumulating a .243 average, 10 home runs, 45 RBIs, 16 doubles, a 95 OPS plus, and 20 stolen bases. 2012 was a year of transition for the entire Marlins franchise. The team moved to Miami and needed to make a big splash from the headlines, so they went out and acquired Jose Reyes to be their everyday shortstop, moving Hanley Ramirez over to third base. This frustrated Hanley, and his poor play continued throughout the 2012 season. Nearing the trade deadline, the team was performing below expectations, as well as Ramirez. His average was sitting at .246 in 93 games. He did have some decent power numbers with 14 home runs and 48 RBIs, but Miami decided to make a big change. They went ahead and traded Ramirez and Randy Choate over to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Nathan Eovaldi and another pitching prospect by the name of Scott McGough. Miami would go on to win less than 70 games that year, and on the flip side, the Dodgers would go on to win 86, narrowly missing the playoffs, although Hanley did have 3 walk-offs which led the MLB. He also hit .271 with 10 home runs and 44 RBIs in 64 games. Prior to the 2013 season, Hanley had the opportunity once again to play for the Dominican Republic national team in the World Baseball Classic. The team made a run all the way to the championship game, where Hanley actually tore a ligament in his thumb and held him out for the first month of the season. He played his first game of the season on April 29th, which was actually earlier than expected, but 4 days later, he suffered a hamstring injury that kept him out for another month. He made his return June 4th, and the Dodgers took off. The team went 46-10 from mid-June to mid-August and ended up winning the NL West. If you remember, that was when Yasiel Puig really came on the scene, and the Dodgers were one of the hottest teams in the league. Hanley, in the 86 games he played, finished with a .345 average, 20 home runs, 57 RBIs, and a 5.1 offensive WAR according to Baseball Reference. He also, in just limited time, managed to finish 8th in National League MVP voting, which is truly incredible, playing almost just half a season. His stellar play would continue in the postseason. In the NLDS against the Atlanta Braves, Hanley went 8 for 16 with 6 extra base hits, which tied the franchise postseason record at the time and helped propel the Dodgers to a 4-game series victory over the Braves. But in Game 1 of the NLCS against the Cardinals, Hanley was hit by a fastball in the first inning that fractured 2 ribs and would affect him for the rest of the postseason. The Dodgers ultimately lost in 6 games. Hanley entered 2014 in a contract year, but unfortunately dealt with some injuries and was only able to play in 128 games. Probably the most notable thing he did all season was commit a throwing error in the 7th inning of Clayton Kershaw's perfect game bid. Other than that, his season was pretty mediocre, maybe slightly above average, as he finished with a .283 average, 13 home runs, 71 RBIs, and 35 doubles, which was actually his most since 2009. The Dodgers ended up winning 94 games and clinched the NL West for the 2nd straight year. And in the postseason, Hanley played much better, where he hit .429 with 2 RBIs and a stolen base, but the Dodgers were eliminated in 4 games by the Cardinals in the NLDS. In the offseason, the Dodgers extended him the qualifying offer, but Hanley declined. And on November 25th, 2014, Ramirez signed a 4-year, $88 million deal with a 5th-year vesting option worth $22 million to return to the team that originally brought him into the MLB, the Boston Red Sox. Xander Bogaerts was the starting shortstop for Boston, so the plan was to move Hanley Ramirez to left field, a position he's never played in his entire life. And early on, things looked great, as Hanley Ramirez hit 2 home runs, including a broken bat grand slam on opening day, and he would go on to hit 10 home runs in the month of April, joining David Ortiz as the only players to do that in Red Sox franchise history. But things came to a screeching halt only a few days later, as on May 4th, Ramirez crashed into the left field wall in the top of the first against the Tampa Bay Rays, suffering a left shoulder sprain. He only played in 105 games that season, and his defense is rated as the worst in the American League of all left fielders. The Red Sox stopped playing him in left field on September 1st for good, and Hanley finished the 2015 season with a .249 average, 19 homers, 53 RBIs, and an 89 OPS+, which was below league average. The Red Sox finished that season with only 78 victories, missing the postseason. 2015 was an epic failure for the Boston Red Sox, as both star free agent signings, Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval, vastly underperformed with their new large contracts. But Hanley was determined to change his narrative, and prior to 2016, he was asked once again to switch positions, this time to first base. But he showed up to spring training early and ready to work, and Hanley delivered a terrific comeback season, including a memorable walk-off 3-run home run to shock the Yankees in a mid-September game that catapulted the Red Sox to an 11-game win streak and an AL East title. He finished 2016 with a .286 average, 30 home runs, 111 RBIs, which was the most in his career, 126 OPS+, won Player of the Week twice that season, and was actually 5th in fielding percentage out of all first basemen. He also played in 147 games. The Red Sox met the 94-win Cleveland Indians in the ALDS and were swept in 3 games. Hanley hit only .250 with 2 doubles and 2 RBIs. Prior to the 2017 season, David Ortiz retired, and the Red Sox acquired Mitch Moreland to be their everyday first baseman. So once again, Hanley would switch positions for the 3rd year in a row, but this time it was to designated hitter. After a promising 2016 season, Ramirez regressed at the plate, finishing with a .242 average, the lowest of his career, 23 homers, 62 RBIs, a 95 OPS+, again below league average, 24 doubles, and only 1 stolen base, also the lowest of his career. But despite his struggles, the Red Sox won 93 games and the AL East title for the 2nd year in a row. But in the ALDS versus the Houston Astros, Hanley raked. In 4 games, Hanley hit .571, 8 hits and 14 at-bats with 2 doubles and 3 RBIs, but the Red Sox lost to the eventual World Series champions 3-1. In 2018, expectations were high for the Red Sox after making the postseason back-to-back years, and Hanley began the season on fire. He hit .330 in the month of April, but he had a complete 180 in May, hitting .163, and was eventually designated for assignment on May 25th of that season. 5 days later, he was released and finished the season with a .254 average, 6 homers, 29 RBIs, 7 doubles, 4 stolen bases in only 44 games. In June of 2018, just a month after Hanley was released from the league, it was reported that Hanley might be connected to a possible drug ring based out of Massachusetts that was investigated by federal and state officials. But days later, it turned out that Hanley had no link whatsoever, and it turns out that the person arrested just used Ramirez's name to get the cops off his back. The following season, 2019, Ramirez had a short stint with Cleveland, playing in 16 games, hitting .184 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 49 plate appearances. He was eventually cut on April 22nd and has been out of the league since. These days, Hanley is unofficially retired and enjoys DJing in his free time. But as far as his MLB career, it was definitely a good one. Could have been great, barring some injuries, maybe some more effort, and maybe some better situations. In his prime, he was one of the best power speed players to play the game. Power speed is basically the harmonic mean of home runs and stolen bases. He finished in the top 7 6 times and was first overall in 2007 and 2008. As we reflect on Hanley's career, there are definitely some bad moments and what-if scenarios, but overall, the good far outweighs the bad. He made a ton of money throughout his career and was extremely productive in his prime. So Hanley, we thank you for the good and the bad. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.